Hey man, Jim Wolf here, and welcome to step 2 of the formula, how to increase a woman's attraction to you and turn it into love. I really hope that you got a lot out of yesterday's training, and I hope you get even more out of today's. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about the 4 elements that make a woman fall in love with you. And before we get into that content, I have 4 quick things to say first. Number 1, a woman's interest in you, how interested she is in you, how she feels about you emotionally, her strength of interest in you, as I call it, is the number 1 factor in your romantic relationships and in your dating success. Okay, so it's all about her emotional interest in you. That's what makes your relationship with a woman different from all the other relationships that you could have. Okay, so it's why male-female dynamics is a little bit different than, for example, creating a strong social circle and making friendships and building business contacts. Okay, so the one thing that distinguishes your relationship with a woman from your relationship with anyone else is the female interest in a male. Okay, which is her emotionally feeling attraction for you and eventually feeling what we call love for you. And that's what this training today is about. If you give her the 4 elements that we're talking about and she's open to you or interested in you a little bit to begin with, these are the things that increase her attraction and make her fall in love. Now, a woman will date a man for a lot of reasons. Okay, and so for a man to date a woman, we usually date them for 1 or 2 reasons. It's like we're attracted to her, we like her, we want to be with her, etc. Okay, for a woman, it's not so simple. Okay, women will date men for all kinds of reasons. They might date a guy because he has money, or they might go out with someone because they don't have food in the pantry and they're hungry and they want to go out for a free meal, or they might go out with a guy because they want to get revenge on an ex-boyfriend, or they might have had their heart broken by kind of an asshole guy and so now they're going to go date a nice guy for a while and control him. Okay, and so women have all kinds of reasons why they might date you, and what we want is to be with a woman who's actually interested in you. Okay, so what we want is to date a woman who's interested in you, and then we want to increase that interest until it becomes what we call love. And so the 4 elements that we talk about today are what cause that to happen. And then number 2, women fall in love slower than men. Okay, so when you're dating a woman, she's going to fall in love slower than you. That's a really critical point, because for us it can happen right away, like love at first sight, right? You can see a woman and be like, oh man, I want to marry that girl. Okay? Now, a woman might feel that same level of kind of initial attraction to you. However, for her to feel what we call love for you, no matter what, even if she likes you a lot right from the beginning, it still takes her about 2 to 3 months or 6 to 9 dates to feel what we call love. So even if her interest in you is super high right away, you have to maintain that over a period of 2 or 3 months for her to feel what we call love and to be committed to you. Okay, so if that's what you want, it takes her longer than it takes you. And a big part of what we're going to talk about today comes from that difference. So just keep in mind that she's going to fall in love slower than you. So part of what we're talking about today is just letting her interest in you catch up with your interest in her. Okay, that's a big part of what we're going to go over today, so keep that in mind. Number 3, she falls in love with your behavior. Okay, she doesn't fall in love with you. She can't get inside your mind, she can't actually really know you like you do. Okay, so she can't really love you for you. Okay, she falls in love with the way you act and the way you react to certain situations. Okay, and so she has to try to look for internal qualities that you have, and the best information that she can get about whether you have them or not is the way that you behave. So it's your job to accept yourself at a deep level. It's your job to take care of yourself. It's your job to love yourself. Okay, because she doesn't actually do that for you. No woman can actually love you for you. She's going to fall in love with the way you behave. Okay, so if you don't already have a really good sense of self-worth and self-esteem, start working on that and start approving of yourself. Because when it comes to women, there are 2 things you can try to get from them. Okay, number 1 is approval. And a lot of guys are trying to get approval from women. And it might be a subconscious thing. It might not even be getting her approval directly. It might be the way that he's able to approve of himself is to date women. Okay, so that's one track that you can be on, is seeking approval. And we want to get off that track if we're on it right now. And the other thing that you can seek from women is attraction and love. And that's what this program is about. And if you accept and value and love yourself, now you can stop seeking her approval, and instead you can allow her attraction to come in, and you can allow her love to come in. Okay, so that's what we want. Just remember that she falls in love with your behaviors, not the real you. She's not going to validate who you really are just because she's dating you. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's really important. And then lastly, number 4, this stuff that we're going to talk about today, these 4 elements, apply across cultures. Okay, I could get in a time machine and go back to ancient Egypt and teach the same exact course, and these elements would be exactly the same. So within individual cultures, there might be slight differences in the way you apply these 4 principles that we're going to talk about today, but these 4 elements are the same everywhere. So as long as you're dealing with females that are interested in males, these are the 4 elements that make her fall in love. And let's just go ahead and jump right into the first of the 4 elements, and that is high internal value. So what does high internal value mean? Well, it means that you express how much you value yourself through your actions. You're expressing your self-worth through your behaviors. Okay, that's what high internal value means. Again, she can't actually get inside and see if you value yourself. She's just going to read your behaviors, and that's going to give her the information she needs to figure out if you value yourself or not. Okay, so when I start talking about high internal value and self-worth and self-esteem and self-acceptance and confidence and whatever you want to call it, a lot of guys are really worried that they're going to become a cocky asshole. And they don't want to be a cocky asshole. Okay, and that's a legitimate fear. A lot of people who don't have a lot of self-worth feel like they might turn into a cocky person if they start valuing themselves more. And I'm going to give you a little secret to kind of take that out of your mind. And that is the difference between true confidence and cockiness. So the difference between cockiness and true confidence is comparison. I'm going to say that one more time. The difference between cockiness and true, genuine confidence is comparison. So cockiness is, I'm better than you, or you're not as good as me. And true, genuine confidence is, I'm not better or worse than anyone else. I'm just awesome. Okay, so instead of comparing your value to someone else, now you can have an infinite amount of value, and it doesn't take away any value from anyone else. Okay, so when you separate your own value from the value of other people, you're no longer kind of comparing your value to other people's value, and you're just valuing yourself a lot. That's what high internal value means. Now here's the thing, when it comes to dating, it's mostly a game of relative value. Okay, so when a woman sees you, for her to be attracted to you, and for her to keep being attracted to you, and for her to fall in love with you, she has to see you, she has to perceive you as equal to her, or maybe even better. Okay, so she has to perceive that you have some value that she wants. Okay, she has to see that your value is equal to hers or higher. Okay, she wants to get a really good deal. All right, so she's looking for something that has value to her. All right, and so this is why some of the people in kind of like the pickup artist community teach guys to put women down. It's called negging. Okay, and so what negging does is, let's say you perceive a woman to be right here, and you perceive yourself to be a little lower than her. Okay, what negging her does, what insulting her does, is takes some of her value and lowers it so that she's a little below you now, so she can feel attracted to you. Okay, and maybe that can work for a second. However, it's kind of like eating at Jack in the Box. It might do something for you in the short term, but it feels horrible later. Okay, and so what we want to do is something that's a little more healthy for you and for the women that you date. Okay, so what are the ways that you can show a woman that you have value, that can convince her to date you? Well, a lot of guys try the strategy of begging her to like them. Okay, it's not what it feels like to them, but they're basically just saying to her, hey, please like me, please like me, please like me. I'll do anything. No one else will ever love you as much as I do. Okay, that's kind of begging her for her interest in you. Okay, and that doesn't work only because that shows her that you think your value is lower than hers, so she can't feel attracted to you. Again, in order for her to feel attracted to you, she has to perceive you as equal or better. Okay? So if you're begging her to like you in any way, she's not going to be able to feel attracted to you. And even if she is attracted to you to begin with, if you keep showing her that you think your value is lower than hers, her interest in you is going to drop and eventually go away. Okay, so another strategy that guys try to do is putting her down, like we just talked about. And again, that takes some of her value so that it lowers hers, in relation to yours. And a lot of guys who haven't had a lot of success with women, they start doing that because they're so frustrated and they're kind of pissed off at women. Okay, and so we don't want to be in that space where we're trying to take value from the world and take value from women. All right, so that's a strategy that some guys try to do once they start learning that begging for it doesn't work, but that's not what we want to do. And then another strategy that you can try to do is bragging. Okay, so when you're on a date with a woman, you can say, oh, I've got this really cool job, I've got an awesome watch, I make a lot of money, I have a cool house, I got a pool, I got a Lamborghini, I know George Clooney, whatever it is. And what bragging is doing is you're trying to take stuff that's not really part of who you are and add it to your value. Okay, so you're kind of trying to artificially pump up your value by using things that aren't really part of you. Okay, so a car is not part of who you are, and you're trying to artificially inflate it. So now you're thinking maybe she thinks that you are of value, but you really don't believe that you're valuable. Okay, and so if you feel like you have to use those external things to pump up your value, that means that you don't actually believe that you're really valuable. And she is going to pick up on that. Okay, women are really good at reading this stuff. Again, they have 6 times the social cue receptors as men. So she's going to know right away that if you're bragging a lot, that you actually don't think you're as valuable as her. And then again, her attraction to you is going to go away if it was even there to begin with. Okay, so those are 3 strategies that most guys try to use, and they don't work. What we want to do is raise our own value. Again, we want to accept ourselves at a deep, real level. We want to love ourselves at a deep, real level. We want to take care of ourselves at a high level. And we want to value ourselves in a real way without comparing ourselves to other people. Okay, so the more you can believe in your own value in a real way, you have to actually believe it. Okay, the more options you're going to have and the more women are going to be attracted to you. And also, when you start dating a woman, she's going to be able to increase her attraction for you over time instead of decreasing it. And then she's going to fall in love with you. So if you have some issues in this area, and a lot of us do, definitely take care of those because it's going to really skyrocket your dating success. And the cool thing about that is when you raise your value in a real way, now you can challenge her up to your level. And what does that do? That adds to her value. Okay, you're adding value to the world now, and you're actually valuable to her because you are lifting her up to a new level maybe she hasn't experienced before. And you can kind of be playful about it, like, hey, I'm not sure if you're on my level. Let's see. Maybe you are. You look like you might be. You seem like you might be on my level. Let's find out. Okay, so what we want to do is raise our own real value and then challenge her to join us there. That's the key. And I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can apply internal value to your specific dating behavior starting today. Number 1, anytime a woman challenges you or teases you or insults you, respond to it as if it was a huge compliment. So for example, if she says, "You're ugly," you respond by saying, "Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you so much." Or, "Have I told you lately how sweet you are?" And so respond to anything she says as if it was the biggest compliment you've ever gotten. Okay, that's what being disarming means. Okay, so anytime a woman says something to you, you're going to respond to it as if it was a compliment. And this is super powerful and can really spike her attraction for you. It's a really, really cool thing to do. And here's why it works. Basically, what you're communicating is you value yourself so much and you're so secure that it doesn't even enter your reality that she wouldn't agree with that she wouldn't find you as a cool guy as well. Okay, so try that out. And you don't have to just do it with the women you're dating. You can try it with friends or your coworkers or whatever. The next time someone says something negative to you, just respond to it as if they're complimenting you and see what happens. And especially the next time a woman does that, and see what her reaction is. And I think you're going to find that you really like the way that she reacts to you after that. I was actually at a bar one night with a group of friends, and I was talking to this girl, and she was being super aggressively mean with me, like saying all kinds of bad stuff to me, and I was just laughing, and I was like, I don't even know this girl yet. She just happens to be hanging out with a group who was hanging out with my group of friends that night, and I was just being nice and saying hi. I wasn't even all that interested in her. I'm just a social guy. And so I was saying hi to her and stuff, and she wasn't having it at all. And she was just being aggressively mean to me for no reason. But I just kept saying, laughing, saying, "Oh, you seem like a really cool person, blah, blah, blah." Like just responding to it as if she was complimenting me and being nice. Okay, and later that same night, we're sitting at a huge table with like 15 people. The lights are on. It's the end of the night, so the bar turned all the lights on. It's completely bright. Everyone's watching, and she is now asking me to make out with her and basically begging me to kiss her in front of everyone. She didn't even like take me to another place to be by herself. She just wanted to kiss me in front of everyone. And at that point, I was just teasing her like, oh no, we just met. I can't do that. And she's like, so what? Come on. All right. And so the point here is that most of those things that they throw at you are a test. And a woman is not going to test you unless she's interested in you. And when you show her that you're secure and it doesn't affect you, that's when her attraction goes up. Okay, so don't think that a woman is insulting you and being mean. Take it as a huge compliment and react to it that way and see what happens. And I think you're going to like the results. Okay, number 2, when you're on a date with a woman and you're telling her a story that you think is really cool and you get interrupted, like the waitress comes over or she starts talking about something else or something else happens over here and you're both distracted, do not continue telling your story unless she asks you to. Why? Because when you are so focused on getting your story across, that shows her that you don't value yourself and that you have to try to convince her to like you. Okay, so by you letting that go and letting the conversation flow, you're going to demonstrate that you do value yourself. And again, this sounds like a little thing, but these little things are a big deal when it comes to dating. So when you're telling a story and you get interrupted, don't continue unless she asks you to. Just move the conversation to somewhere else and let it flow naturally. And she's going to feel that subconsciously. And then number 3, get her talking. Okay, we want her sharing herself with you. She should be talking 60 to 80% of the time when you're on a date with her. Okay, here is a mindset shift. We don't like people who share a lot of stuff with us about themselves. We like people more when we share ourselves with them. Okay, so when a woman shares who she is with you, she's going to feel more connected to you. She's going to feel more comfortable with you. She's going to feel more attracted to you. And eventually she's going to fall in love with you. Okay, so let her talk. You don't want to try to tell her everything about yourself right away because that's, again, just you trying to convince her to like you, to convince her of your value. Okay, a guy who has high internal value doesn't need to convince her, it's just assumed. Okay, so you can sit back a little bit and try to get to know her. Ask her what she has to offer. Not in a direct way, but get to know her and see if she's really a good fit for you. And she's going to feel that and it's going to make her more attracted to you. So your job is to get her talking for the most part. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't share anything about yourself. You can share stories from your life that are related to the things that she says also, but for the most part, you want her sharing fun, positive things about herself with you. So focus on that from now on. And so that's high internal value. And now let's get into the second element, which is internal strength. And what does internal strength mean? Well, internal strength means that you have the ability to disagree with a woman without being disagreeable. Okay, you're not trying to convince her that your point is right. You're just able to state your opinion. Okay, a lot of guys just agree with whatever she says. No, if you have internal strength, you're able to express your opinion and still not put her down at the same time. So you're able to disagree without being disagreeable. You're able to say no to her when necessary. You're able to stand up to her when necessary. And if she does something that's a deal breaker for you, you're able to walk away from her and be just fine. Okay, that's what internal strength means, and it's one of the 4 elements that make a woman fall in love with you over time. Okay, so a woman's interest in you is not usually solidified into deep love until something happens where she can see if you have internal strength or not. Okay, so you get a lot of attraction and love points when a situation happens and she sees how you react to it. That's usually when her attraction or her love for you is solidified, not when everything is going perfectly smoothly. Okay, that's going to show her exactly who you are. And I have a really good example of this from my life. I was dating a girl a long time ago, many years ago, and we were going out for a few weeks, and it was getting to the point where I wanted to be her boyfriend, and that's kind of how I thought it was going. I thought it was going really well, and it was getting to the point where I thought that we were going to be exclusive with each other. And then one day I had kind of a weird feeling in my gut. I wasn't sure exactly why. I didn't really know what it was, but I decided for once to kind of trust my gut feeling and just ask her about it. Okay, so when I saw her that night, I was like, hey, I have this weird feeling. Like, what's up? Is there something going on? Like, is there something I should know? What's going on? And she kind of got a little shy and a little embarrassed, and she's like, well, last night I went out to the bar and I actually made out with the bartender. Now, that was okay because we weren't officially together. Okay, so it was totally fine that she did that. We weren't exclusive or together at that point. However, it's not what I wanted. Okay, so I wanted to be in a relationship with her, and I just said, hey, that's cool. We're not together or anything yet, but that's not what I want. And I walked out of there, and my plan was just not to ask her out again. Okay, and I was actually really upset and really sad, and that was really hard for me to do because I really, really liked her. But I did it because that's what I really wanted. Okay, and because I showed that internal strength and she actually felt it and saw it for herself, that pushed her interest in me over the line, and she fell completely in love with me. And a day or two later, she came over to my house and was like crying and just said, you know, I want to be with you and all this stuff. And so that's kind of when she became my girlfriend. And then we dated for 5 years after that. And she was completely loyal the whole time and completely in love with me. Okay, so again, when you have the opportunity to show your internal strength, do it. And this is not against a woman. Okay, internal strength just means that you stand up for yourself and that you express yourself. Okay, so that's what internal strength means, and I'm going to give you 4 ways to apply internal strength starting today. And the first one we kind of already talked about, and that is just when you disagree with her, let her know. And when you disagree with her and you let her know, you want to also show her that it's not important to you that she agrees with you. Okay, so you want to disagree with her without putting her down. And then you can just kind of move the conversation into a new topic and bring it back to positive and fun. Okay, so when you disagree with her, let her know without putting her down. And then number 2, if she flirts with other guys, don't react. Okay, so let's say you've been dating a girl for 3 or 4 weeks and you take her to a party. Okay, and you're at this party and a couple of guys come in and she runs up to one of them and gives him a big hug. Okay, and she starts talking to him excitedly. Okay, a lot of guys would get really uptight and really upset about that. But for us, because we have internal strength, we're not going to react. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what she does. Okay, and we're going to be cool about it. The best possible thing you can do in that scenario is start talking to some other girls. So then she comes back to you 20 minutes later and she's like, hey, you know what? That was my cousin. I haven't seen him for like 5 years. It was really awesome to catch up with him. And I really appreciate how you were just so cool about it, because a lot of guys I dated in the past would have gotten really uptight about that. And I really appreciate that. Okay, and then she might say something like, and by the way, who was that girl you were talking to? And then you can say something like, oh, she's just a friend. She's really cool. And you're going to get a lot of points because you didn't react in that situation. So just kind of wait and see what happens. Don't react to something that you think is happening. Wait and see what actually happens and then respond instead of reacting. And when you do that, a woman is going to raise her interest in you because it's a rare quality that she rarely sees. So that's what we want to do. And then number 3, if you're already in a relationship with a woman, try to say no to her at least once a month. You're going to have lots of opportunities to say no to her. And this isn't a negative thing where you just want to be mean and say no, but it's really important that you have the ability to say no to her once in a while. Okay, so make sure that you say no to her a little bit because, again, she appreciates that internal strength. She wants to know who you really are. And you express that by expressing your real self. And when you want to say no, say no. Try that out. And then number 4, if she tries to leave you, let her go. Okay, and there's a couple of reasons for this. Number 1, if all of her interest in you is gone and she leaves you, there is nothing that you can do to get it back, and you're just going to waste your time and energy, and your self-worth, your internal value is going to go down because you're chasing after something that isn't there anymore. So that's the first reason. The second reason is if she has any interest left in you at all, because you don't react and start going after her, she's eventually going to raise her interest in you again and then come back towards you with higher interest in you. Okay, so it's actually the only thing that could work in the situation. So if a woman tries to leave you, she's either already gone completely and there's nothing you can do, or if you let her go, that shows her that you have this internal strength, and that's going to raise her attraction for you, and she'll come back to you when she's ready and when her interest is high enough. And that's what we want. So either way, you respond the exact same way to that situation by just letting her go. And so that is internal strength. And now let's talk about the third element that makes a woman fall in love with you, and that is pre-selection. And what pre-selection means is that if she thinks that other women on her level find you attractive, she'll be attracted to you as well. And this one is kind of hard for guys to understand because it really doesn't affect us the same way. Just imagine for a moment you're chilling at your favorite restaurant or whatever, and a beautiful blonde girl walks in. Okay, and then imagine a separate scenario. You're sitting in the same booth, and this blonde girl walks in, and she's got 4 or 5 really nicely dressed guys surrounding her when she walks in. Are you going to find that second woman more attractive than the first one? No. In fact, for us, we probably like the girl by herself more. However, it's not the same thing when it comes to women. If you walk into a restaurant or a club or a bar or a party or whatever, and you have 4 or 5 women with you, you're going to be perceived as much more attractive than if you walk in by yourself. That's what pre-selection means. Because women are all looking for these same 4 elements. And when you already have women in your life and you already have women who are attracted to you, those women are looking for the exact same 4 things as the new women that see you for the first time. So it's a shortcut for the female mind because you've already passed all of these tests in the minds of these other females. It's a shortcut for her. She doesn't have to test you because she knows you already have these 4 elements, at least at some level, because these women wouldn't be with you if you didn't. Okay, that's why pre-selection works. And because our brains are looking for slightly different things, we can detect those things really easily, whether she's with anyone or not. But it's not the same thing for her. She's looking for some internal qualities. Okay, and so when you're surrounded by women, that gives her all the information that she needs. You obviously have at least some of this down, or those women wouldn't be around you. Okay, so that's why pre-selection works. Now here's the thing when it comes to dating a woman. You don't have to be surrounded by 4 models when you go to a club to have pre-selection working for you. It's not like that. She just has to feel like you have other options on her level. Okay, that's what pre-selection really means in a dating context. And so when it comes to pre-selection, instead of giving you a few specific ways to start applying it today, I'm going to give you one golden question that can show you what to do in any situation to make sure pre-selection is working for you. And the golden question is this. If you genuinely like this woman, you're genuinely interested in her, okay? And also, you have 8 other women in your life that you like just as much, who are texting you, they're calling you, they're asking you out, they're paying attention to you. If you like her and you had these 8 other options that you also liked the same amount, how would you act with her? Hey, you're not going to ignore her completely or pretend you don't want her, because that's not true, right? You still like her. It's just that you also have these 8 other awesome options. Okay, so you're not going to completely ignore her and you're not going to be needy with her. And that's the key balance, right? So you're going to be a little more patient with her. You're going to call her a little bit less often. Okay, and this is not playing games. It's just that when you do actually have a lot of good options, that's how you would behave. So you can kind of reverse engineer that and it has the exact same effect. Okay, so just ask yourself, how would I act if I had 8 other really good options on her level right now that were interested in me? And then do that. And that's going to tell you exactly what you should do 99% of the time. Okay, and so I really love that golden question, and it's really going to make sure that pre-selection is working for you with the next woman that you date. All right, and so that is pre-selection. And the 4th element that makes a woman fall in love with you is challenge. And challenge is the great equalizer. Being a challenge will allow you to compete with guys that are wealthier than you, that are better looking than you, that have better personalities with you. Challenge is the great equalizer. It's your biggest weapon when it comes to dating a woman and her falling in love with you. Okay, and so challenge does not mean that you act aloof and pretend you don't want her. Okay, it also doesn't mean that you're going to be a jerk to her or manipulate her or that you're playing games. Okay, all challenge means is that you're going to be more patient. You're going to let her interest in you catch up with your interest in her because, again, you realize now it takes her 2 to 3 months to feel what we call love for you, and you're going to allow that to happen. Okay, that's what challenge means. And challenge also means that you're expressing your fearlessness of losing her. Okay, so the next time you're dating a woman, do everything that you would normally do, except for everything that expresses your fear of losing her. And that's what being a challenge means. And being a challenge is also giving her the experience that she wants. Okay, so one of the 4 elements that she really wants is challenge, and we're going to give it to her. And when you're a challenge, she's going to feel like she's earning your attention over time, which is going to make her value it more. Okay, so that's what we want. We want her to earn our attention over time by treating you well. And now I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can start applying challenge today. Number 1, if you're doing it right now, stop texting her 1,000 times a day. Okay, I know it's tempting when you're really interested in a woman to keep texting her over and over again. Okay, but after you have a really fun time with a woman on a date and you're really connected to her, resist the urge to keep texting her all night afterwards. Okay, because it destroys challenge in the beginning. Remember, in the beginning stages of dating, frustration is very similar to attraction. Okay, so what we want is for her to think about you in between dates. All right? You actually get, this is a really critical point. You get the most attraction and love points when you're not with her, when she's thinking about you. I'm going to say that one more time. You get the most points with her when it comes to her attraction and her love when you're not actually with her, when she's thinking about you. So you want to give her the time and space to think about you a little bit. All right, so after you finish a really awesome date, just send her one text that said, "Hey, I had a really fun time tonight, Amy," smiley face, and then send it. And then no matter what, even if she texts you back, let that be the last text for the night. Just leave it there. Okay? And then definitely don't ask her to meet up again the next day. And don't text her 5,000 times. Instead, just wait a little while and then directly ask her to meet up again. Now, here's the key thing. If in between your dates she texts you, you can respond back and be kind of playful and have fun with her. Okay? But you want to keep it to a minimum. You want to keep texting and calling to a minimum in between dates, because technology, texting, calling, Facebook messaging, whatever it is, the only purpose of that is to set up your next in-person meeting with her. Okay, we build our relationships in person. Okay, so you want to spend time with her in person once every 7 to 10 days or so. And the entire point of communicating with her in between is just to get to that next meetup. Because again, we get to know people in person. That's what's most natural for us. That's what's going to take her attraction to the next level and turn it into love. You can't do it over texting. Okay, so keep texting to a minimum if you're texting too much right now. Number 2, in a similar vein, lay off on the compliments. Limit yourself to one compliment per meetup with her and make it a genuine compliment. And don't make the compliment about her body. Make it about something that she's doing. Like, "Hey, I really like that story that you just shared with me." Okay, so limit your compliments to one light, fun compliment per date and don't compliment her body. Why? Again, it goes back to relative value and high internal value. These elements are very related to each other. Okay, so when you're complimenting her and complimenting her and complimenting her, that shows her that you think her value is above yours. Okay, which means she can't feel attracted to you anymore, and that's really sad. We want her to feel attracted to you. She wants to feel attracted to you, so we're going to let her from now on. So if you're complimenting her too much right now, just back off on that a little bit and give her one compliment per meetup. Okay, and you're going to do just fine if you make that adjustment. And then number 3, don't do any big favors for her until you're her official boyfriend. Okay, so for that first 2 to 3 months when you're just dating and you're not together with her yet, don't do any big favors for her. Don't wax her car, don't help her move across town, etc. Okay, she has friends who can help her with that. All right, and even if she asks you, just politely decline. Say, "Oh, I would like to help, but I can't help you that day." All right, and the reason for that is that she hasn't committed to you yet. Okay, so once she's your committed girlfriend, then of course help her move across town, do all those things for her. But if you do it before that, that's basically a subconscious way for you to try to get her approval, for you to try to get her to like you, which again lowers your relative perceived value and makes her less attracted to you. Okay, so even if you're a really super nice guy, don't do any big favors for her in the beginning stages because, again, we want to give her the gift of attraction and falling in love with an awesome guy. That's the best gift that you can give her, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, and then if she asks you for a small favor, always get something in return in those beginning stages. Again, once you're her official boyfriend, this stuff isn't that big of a deal. But in the beginning, it's a really big deal. Okay, so if she asks you to watch her purse while she goes to the restroom while you're on your date, ask her to grab you a drink or a napkin on the way back. It doesn't have to be something big, just ask for something in return. Don't be so easy when it comes to doing favors for her. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it is a really important thing and we want her to feel attracted to you and we want her to fall in love with you. Okay, so don't do any big favors for her in those beginning stages, and when you do a small favor for her, make sure that you get something in return. And then lastly, number 4, never ask her, "Hey, when can we see each other again? Hey, when are we going to meet up again?" Okay? That will kill her attraction and love for you. Okay, so do not do that. Don't say, "Hey, when can we see each other again?" Don't do that. Instead, just say, "Hey, I had a really fun time with you tonight," and then leave, and then in a few days, ask her to meet up with you again. "Hey, I'm going to the salsa club on Thursday at 7. Want to come?" Boom. Okay, so you are the logistical coordinator. You don't put any of that on her. You plan the date, you plan the exact time, the exact location, and exactly what you're going to do, and then you just invite her to come with you. Okay, so never ask her when you can see her again. Just ask her out directly again. Okay, so just keep in mind, you can't convince her to like you, and you can't convince her to love you. Okay, so instead of telling her how you feel, you're going to show her that you like her by asking for her number. Okay, you're going to show it in a direct way. When you ask her for her number, she knows you like her now. Okay, and then you're going to ask her out directly for a date. And when you ask her out for a date, she knows you like her. That's how you show her you like her. Okay, and then you're going to go for the kiss. Okay, you show her you like her by being direct and asking for her number and asking her to go out on a date with you for a specific day and time, and then going for the kiss. You don't tell her. And then whatever her response is, be cool about it. If she turns her cheek when you try to kiss her, or she says no to your date invitation, be cool about it. It's all good. Okay, so if you do that, you're going to show her that you have the 4 elements that she's looking for, and if she's interested in you at all, that's going to increase her interest in you, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so in that beginning stage, just keep asking her to meet up with you once every 7 to 10 days or so, and you plan the day, time, and activity and invite her to join you, and you just wait for her to bring up the topic of being your girlfriend. Okay, again, and it's going to take about 2 to 3 months or 6 to 9 meetups for her to do that. And she's probably not going to be direct and say, hey, do you want to be my boyfriend? She's probably going to say something like, hey, where is this relationship headed? Hey, what are we? Okay, and that's when you know it's the right time to ask her to be your girlfriend. And you don't want to do it a moment sooner because most guys do this way too soon, and the right time is when she's ready. And she's going to tell you she's ready when she says something like, hey, where is this relationship headed? Okay, and again, if you give her these 4 elements during that first 2 to 3 months, she will bring that up. She will want to be your girlfriend. Okay, and so that's what we want. Just wait for her to bring that up. The same thing goes if you want to marry her after you become her official boyfriend. After a year or 2, she's going to bring up the topic of marriage. Again, she probably won't directly get down on a knee and ask you to marry her. It's not what I'm saying. She's just going to bring up the idea of marriage with you. And that's how you know it's the right time to propose to her if you want. Okay, so wait for her to bring up the topic before you plan to get down on your knee and ask her to marry her. Again, we want it to be her idea to be with you because her interest in you is the number 1 factor in your relationship, not your interest in her. And if she's open to you or genuinely interested in you in the beginning and you give her these 4 elements over time, she will want to be your girlfriend and she will want to be your wife and she will fall in love with you, which is exactly what you want. And if you're a super ambitious guy and you want to know exactly how to apply all 4 of these elements in any situation with a woman, starting from the very first moment you meet her, click on your private discount link right below this video, and it will take you to your private discount page where you can get access to the entire Attract and Keep Her system at a special VIP price today. So I hope to see you there, and either way, tomorrow we're going to cover the 4 elements that keep a woman in love with you, and they're not the same 4 things that cause her to fall in love with you, so I'm really excited to share that with you as well. And I hope you got a lot out of this training today. Definitely let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.